everyone. My name is Cindy Speaker. I have with me as my guest today Nathan Guin, and he is a veterans attorney with Gardberg Kemmerly Attorneys at Law, wonderful firm down in Mobile, Alabama. Nathan, thanks for being with us today.
No problem at all. Thank you for having me. I always enjoy it.
I always do too. Well, we're going to talk about a new kind of a topic today, and this is called non-service connected pensions, right?
Right.
Okay, so let's start off and have you explain what is a non-service connected pension.
Okay, so non-service connected pension is an alternate route of benefits. So most of the time when we're on here, we talk about disability benefits and getting things service connected and different benefits you can get for service connected conditions. So what non-service connected pension is if you meet a certain requirements, which I think we'll get into a little bit later. It's a needs-based program. If you're familiar with Social Security disability, they also have supplemental income, which is a needs-based program. So for non-service connected pension, essentially what that is if you're totally and permanently disabled, it doesn't have to be a service-connected injury or disease or whatever it may be that makes you just totally and permanently disabled. But if you meet certain requirements, you can get a pension based on that, even if it's not service connected, if you meet certain requirements that we'll talk about in a little bit. There's a couple of those.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. And you kind of compared it to Social Security. So it's all needs based. It's not necessarily based on a disability. Is that correct?
It's based on disability, but it's not necessarily based on a service connected disability.
I see.
It's just based on your income and your total and permanent disability, and then how you served or the details of your service come into play in terms of eligibility too. Only certain veterans can get non-service connected pension.
Okay. And let's move on and talk about eligibility for non-service connected pensions.
Right. So basically, there's a couple of different ways you can get it. If you were enlisted for the first time prior to 1980, I think it's September 1st of 1980, what you need to have is 90 days of service, continuous service, with at least one of those days being during a period of war. So basically, if you served at all during the Vietnam War, Korean War, things like that, if you served, period, then you would have had at least one day. If you were in there for more than 90 days, you'd have had at least one day, because all of those days would have been periods, within a period of war. After 1980, if it's the first time you enlisted, then you have to have that requirement as well. But then you have to have served your full, there's a minimum requirement. Basically, whatever your minimum service requirement was, most of the time that's 24 months. Or if you're a reserve or a guard, anything like that, if you served the full period of time that you were called up to active duty or active service, then you would meet the requirements. That would be the service requirements as far as it goes for the non-service connected pension. There's other issues too. So each year they change the amount, but you have to have under a certain amount, depending on the size of your family, how many dependents you have, things like that. Your total income has to be under a certain level. And what the pension does is it makes up the difference. So let's say, for the sake of it, that you can only have $10,000 in income. I think it's more than that, but let's just say that for the sake of argument. You can have a max of $10,000, and you're a veteran, you're totally and permanently disabled. You can only bring in $5,000 a year. Then they'll make up that difference to get you up to $10,000, and that'll be over 12 monthly installments.
I see. Okay. So explain how it's different from the service-connected pensions.
So service-connected disability compensation is, you have an event or injury in service, you have a current disability that's related to that, and you have a medical opinion putting the two together. So non-service connected pension is helpful even if you are trying to get service connection. If they haven't granted service connection yet, but you meet the requirements, and you can still apply and be granted non-service connected pension, and that can kind of hold you over, so to speak, until you get service connected for other things. Or if you don't, if you can't get service connection for those other issues, then you still have that income coming in. So it's kind of an alternative route. Like a lot of the clients we have will be applying for service connection and unemployability benefits, and maybe they don't meet the scheduler requirements for unemployability, or there's an issue with getting service connection, but they are totally and permanently disabled, or they have Social Security disability benefits already. Then we can also apply for non-service connected pension. And that's just another way that you can kind of help out the veteran, or they can help themselves if they want to file for it themselves.
Yeah. Are there any circumstances where you actually collect both at the same time, the non-service connected and the service connected? or is that
Right. So as
even
long as you're,
permissible?
yeah, as long as you're not over the threshold amount for
Okay.
the pension
Okay.
benefits. So if you're only getting VA benefits and they're under the threshold amount, then you can get the non-service connected pension as long as you're totally and permanently disabled. And in that
Okay.
case, it would be you would have service connected issues, but you would be disabled due to a non-service connected condition. Um, if that makes any sense. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
presumably if you were service connected and you're totally permanently disabled because of the service connected conditions, you would go for IU and all that kind of stuff, through the service connected route. But if you were, let's say you had 10-20% for your knee, but you're not service connected, but you're disabled because of your back, and there's just no service connection there, or you're trying to get
Yeah.
service connection, you can still get the non-service connected pension while
Yeah.
getting the disability benefits as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
If
it's
that
good
makes
that,
any sense, it kind of gets jumbled up.
yeah, no, no, it does make sense. And I think it's good we're talking about issues like this because I would suspect that there's probably veterans that do have the need for a non-service connected pension, but don't realize it's available to them.
Yeah, that's true. And in my experience, a lot of times we'll look over a case or a potential case and say, well, it may not be great for X, Y, and Z, or we may need some more information. We may be able to work on it, but have they filed for non-service connected pension? They've already gotten
Okay.
denied for unemployability, and that's something we call the veteran and say, hey, we may need more information to evaluate your case for service connection, but you
Yeah.
really need to look into filing for non-service connected pension because that's another way you can help yourself out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And most people aren't aware that they can even do that.
Right. 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 Well, and there's, I feel like you're teaching me so much as we kind of go through this series, and I hope that those of you that are watching, we have a whole playlist full of these presentations and shows that Nathan has done. But I'm just thinking about, so suppose if someone has a ratings, I forget what it's called, a ratings evaluation, whatever, the ratings are relatively low, and they're not going to
Right.
get a fair amount. I mean, is there ever a time when you would recommend, look, your ratings low, maybe you should go for the non-service connected? Would that ever happen?
Well, yeah, we do that sometimes. It just
Okay.
depends on the circumstances and
Yeah.
what service connected, how much they get, and you can do both
Yeah.
at the same time, like we talked about earlier. So,
Right. Right.
if somebody
Right.
is like, well, I know about unemployability, but it's my back, and like we were talking about earlier, my knees are the ones that I'm service connected for.
Yeah.
And there's either you're trying to get the back service connected, or maybe there's just no shot. It's just something
Yeah.
completely different, but they have Social Security for that, or they are totally and permanently disabled.
Yeah.
Then that's another benefit that we can kind of apply for, and they can still get their money or their disability benefits for whatever they're service connected for, as
Right.
long as they don't aren't over that threshold amount, and still get the non-service connected pension for outside injuries.
Yeah. Yeah. This is complicated stuff. It truly is. At what point do you recommend a veteran get an attorney involved in this process?
Whenever they want to. I mean, it's really it's their prerogative. If they want
But
to deal with it on
what
their
do you
own, they
think is the
can.
best time? Early on?
Oh, well, the
At
best
what
time. I
point?
mean, well, as an attorney, the earlier the better. We
Okay.
can't be engaged.
Right.
We can't be engaged on any case before a rating decision
Okay.
is given. So you have to apply
Okay.
first and get a
Wait
rating
for the
decision.
ratings
At
decision.
any time after that, you can reach out to an attorney. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, I would highly recommend that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's a little bit biased. But really, at any point after you put in your initial claim, even if you haven't gotten a rating decision yet, you can reach out to somebody and just kind of touch base with them before you get that. Anytime after your initial denial is a good time. I would
Okay.
say, probably the earlier the better,
Yeah.
just because then you have more bites at the apple with your attorney, and you're not going into it alone for as long. But really, it's up to the veteran. But we're more than happy to help anybody at any stage in the process.
Yeah. Nathan, when you work, and I know that you work with claimants all over the world, veterans all over. I'm sorry, all over the country. You're not just in Alabama. You're all over the country. Do you have to go to that? How does it work in terms of court? Do they have to go to court for these things? Is it all done through paperwork? Do you have what in terms of proximity? Do they have to come to you? Do you have to go to them? How's that work?
So it's actually a great system. I'm licensed in Alabama, but since I'm VA accredited, I can
Okay.
practice in any VA venue in the country, or even if
Okay.
there's one in Guam. I mean, I guess that technically is, but in territory, states, whatever.
Yeah.
Most of the time, what we'll do, if they're close enough, we can go to hearings. There's always an option to waive hearings at the Board of Veterans Appeals. We have some veterans that are, in California or Connecticut or Idaho. And a lot of times what we'll do is take those cases on the contingency that, it's just too cost prohibitive to travel for a hearing. And if they're okay with that, the veteran's okay with that, then we're happy to help anybody wherever they are. There are some travel limitations in terms of appearing at hearings, but always an option for the veteran, even if they're far away. A lot of our appointments are by phone. So there's a number of different ways, we can handle any case anywhere as long as the veteran wants us to handle it. We can help them out.
Yeah, great resource. Great resource. Nathan, how can they reach you if they have questions, they want to engage your services?
So there's 3 really good ways to get in touch with us. The first would be at our website, www.gardberglaw.com. That's GARDBERGLAW.com. You can call us at 251-343-1111, and that's our home office here in Mobile. And then they can also, if they want to email us some questions, they can go to vacontact@gardberglaw.com, and they can email things to that, questions or paperwork or, how do I get started with you? All that can go to that email as well, and we can help you out from there.
That's fantastic. Well, those of you that are listening, you have questions, you have comments, put them right in on this post in the comments section. We'll get Nathan to answer them for you. And we also encourage you to look on our Facebook page at the videos, because Nathan has done quite a few of these on various aspects of veterans disability law, and I think they've been tremendously valuable. So Nathan, thanks for being with us again.
It's no problem. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to the next time.
Me too. All right, thanks everybody. We'll talk to you again soon.